We are in middle of Torah Yud Chet in Likutey Moharan, Torah 18, part 6, close halfway in the middle of part 6 in Torah Yud Chet. And this Torah is called Kartalita. This Torah in Likutey Moharan is called the treasure chest. And Rabbi Nachman is explaining to us here how we may find the holy souls. We want to find the holy souls that are going to lead us and guide us to the fulfillment of our ultimate purpose in existence and the purpose of the whole universe. And you need souls that are connected to that purpose, that are able to experience the end game. They're able to experience the final stage of perfection, the state of the universe that we are aspiring to. They are able to experience it now, and in every moment they're able to connect to it. And because of that, they have that clear experience of it already now, on some level. They are able to guide us to that experience already now. And that is the best preparation. The best preparation for us to experience that state of Olam Haba, the world to come, when we get to it, is by constantly connecting ourselves to the small experiences of that state already now. And so what does that mean? So let's explain that a little bit. That means most people understand that the final purpose, yes, the final purpose of the whole world, the whole universe, our existence, is in order to come to the state of the world to come to the Olam Haba, Sha'ashua Olam Haba, the pleasure, the direct experience of Hashem, that divine bliss that we will experience in the world to come. But most people think that what you do is you prepare yourself all the years that you're living in this life, in this world, and then there's the process that a person's soul goes through after living in this physical world. And then when this world gets to the 7,000th year of its existence, that is when the world will be lifted up to a state, a spiritual state called Olam Haba. And then we will experience this divine bliss for all of eternity. And most people think that all the time that we are living in this world, what we do is we prepare ourselves. So we're not experiencing the world to come yet. We are preparing in a state, a preparatory state. And then when we get to the world to come, we will experience the world to come. And what I'm explaining, and we spoke about this yesterday as well, is that in order to prepare ourselves to experience the world to come, when we get to that stage, the best preparation and the real preparation, what the definition of that preparation is to connect ourselves throughout our life in this world, constantly be connecting ourselves to that experience of Olam Haba already now. And we spoke about how that's the aspect of Shabbat, that's the aspect of Emunah, and that's the aspect of the Tzaddik, that's the aspect of Mashiach. And that's why the Tzaddik in the Zohar is called, the Zohar calls the Tzaddik Shabbat as well, because the Tzaddik is constantly living in that state of Olam Haba, in that state of Shabbat, in that state of Emunah. And so in this Torah, Rabbi Nachman is explaining to us how can we find these leaders, can we connect to these leaders, to these Mashiach Neshamot, to these Shabbat souls, that they may guide us to the experience of Shabbat constantly through every word, every action, every thought, every feeling, every moment in our life, which that itself is the best preparation to get us to experiencing the fulfillment of why the world was created, of why we were created, that experience of Olam Haba. And Rabbi Nachman explains that we need to give the crown of leadership, of authority to these Mashiach souls, to these Shabbat souls. And the crown of authority is compassion. That compassion will compel them to lead us, even though they may think that they are not on the level. They may think that they are not worthy of leading us, of being the leaders of the generation. The crown of compassion will compel them to lead us. and to guide us. And that crown of compassion, Rabbi Nachman says, is synonymous with Gilui Panim, He'arat Panim, the face of Hashem being radiating towards us, Hashem's light, Hashem, the direct experience of Hashem's guidance in this world, where a person can experience that Hashem is protecting them, Hashem is with them in every step of the way, and everything is taken care of. Look, everything is working out for me perfectly, wonderfully, easily, in sweet, revealed ways. The experience that Hashem is constantly with me, taking care of me, and there's not a worry in the world for such a person. There's just happiness and bliss and love and success and life. That's the experience of the direct guidance of Hashem. And it's also guiding a person constantly. The person can feel Hashem is showing them the way, how to better themselves, how to improve their personality, their character traits, how to rectify their neshama, to come to the tikkun of their neshama. And that's the experience that is called hashgacha pratit. And that's called also, we said, the ha'arat panim, the face of Hashem radiating to us. We feel like you're facing somebody. When you're facing your friend face to face, there's a different level of connection, communication, than if you were not facing that person. If you were, let's say your back was to that person, and that the back of that person was to you, and maybe you were in a different room or different parts of the world. So that's a different level of connection than when you're facing the person, your friend, as you're speaking to them, right? So that's kind of like, it's comparable to that. What we're saying here, the light of Hashem's face radiating toward us, that direct experience, that clear experience of Hashem's guidance. And the way that we merit that guidance of Hashem is through Emunah, when we believe and trust in Hashem in a complete and perfect way. And when we completely believe in Hashem in a sweet, in a clear way, in an exclusive way, meaning we believe that there is nothing other, no one else, and no other force, and no other power in the universe except for Hashem. And when we have that pure, exclusive belief and trust in Hashem, completely in Hashem, exclusively in Hashem, then Hashem shines His face to us. And this is also something that we said is different than how most people experience. Most people say that they don't believe and trust in Hashem because of these things that happen in their life, but it's the opposite. If you believe and trust in Hashem wholeheartedly, not an intellectual belief, you experience the belief and the trust in your heart, you experience that release, that letting go, that absolute confidence and certainty in the salvation, in the Yeshua, feeling it, experiencing it already now, then you will see that manifest in your physical reality. And that is also, says Rabbi Nachman, how you sweeten anger. When a person could come to, he has a situation that is potentially, could bring him to fall into anger. And there are flames of anger that are just aching to come out and to be expressed through words, hurtful words, violent words, actions and thoughts and all that, behaviors. And a person stops himself before it gets to that. And he sweetens that anger energy. And Rabbi Nachman teaches us that you sweeten the energy with a compassion, with a compassionate energy, and a compassionate energy that comes from being connected to your heart, to your feelings and your needs in your heart, and to be connected to the feelings and the needs of the person in that situation. So you're feeling empathy and compassion for yourself, how you are feeling right now, what you are needing in this situation, why it is that you wanted to react in that way, what are the feelings and the needs behind that reaction that you were going to react. You felt like you wanted to react. There was an urge to react in a certain way. And when you connect to the feelings and needs behind it, and what may be the feelings and needs behind the inappropriate behavior of that person that might have angered you, and then you're connecting on a level of compassion. And that's the deeper level, the inner level. That's the level of Emunah. Because from that place, you're able to connect to the truth that what is behind behaviors of this person did. And what is behind me, my feelings right now, is nothing but Hashem. And so you're retracing You're coming back from the outer world. You are reconnecting to the inner world and to that experience of Hashem, to that experience that Hashem is behind everything that happens. And Hashem is infinitely compassionate, infinitely good, infinitely sweet. And everything that he does is good. And so when you are reconnecting to that inner world, so then that's another, that's maybe how you explain what the Baal Shem Tov brings from the Zohar. And a lot of tzaddikim, it brings from the Zohar, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, the Ramak. The Zohar says that that the sweetening of judgment is in in the source of the judgment. What's the source of the judgment energy? The judgment energy is in the Malchut, surrounding the Malchut, and the source of all that comes from the Bina, from the sphere of Bina. And the sphere of Bina is, if you split up the 10 spherot into 3 categories, the right side is the spherot that are more kindness, that are more chesed oriented, and then the left side is the gevura, judgment energy, the constricted energy, and the middle is the spherot that are a combination of the two. It's a kind of like a sweetening of the constricted with the expansive, with the expanded. And so the beginning, the first sphere in the category of constricted energy, of judgment energy, of gevura sphere, is the bina. And so that's the beginning of where judgment comes from. But in the place of bina, it's completely sweet. In the place of bina, it's in an expanded state. So what we want to do when we want to sweeten a judgment energy that's found at the bottom, in the Malchut, for example, is to reconnect it to its highest, to the source of the judgment energy. Because when it's reconnected to that state of that energy in its source, in its expanded state, so then it's sweetened. And so that is, that's accomplished over here when a person is experiencing some sort of challenge, some sort of difficulty, someone angers you, or potentially you could get angry because of something that somebody did. But instead, you retrace and you reconnect to the source, to what's behind all of this. Where is this all coming from? It's all really nothing but Hashem. But you feel it. You don't just think it. You get into that contemplative, meditative state, and you feel it. And that comes from when you're compassionate, when you're connected to your heart, to your feelings, to your needs, to the feelings and the needs of the other person. And then you are in that deeper inner state, and you're connected to the life energy within you. And then you're in a state where you can recognize and experience that what is behind all this is Hashem. And that's the state of Emunah. And then when you do that, so then the anger energy is sweetened with compassion. And what comes out from that is that the Malchut is crowned, the Malchut, the leadership of Hashem, Hashem's guidance, Hashem's leadership is crowned, meaning that it's brought into a state of revelation of Hashem. It's crowned with a crown of compassion, because we said that the crown of leadership is the crown of compassion, and we experience Hashem's compassionate nature leading us and guiding us, and that's what's called Ha'arat Panim, and that is then also experienced as the crown of compassionate leadership being given to those Mashiach souls, to the Shabbat souls. And then they are compelled to take positions of authority. They are compelled to guide us and to lead us with this crown of compassion that they are given. And so Rabbi Nachman also teaches us in this Torah the two rules, the two the true requirements of a worthy leader. A worthy leader, what we call the Mashiach souls, the Moshe souls, the Shabbat souls. The worthy leader has two characteristics Rabbi Nachman speaks about in this Torah. One of them is that the only motivation that they have to lead the generation, their only motivation is compassion. And they have such a compassion for the generation that even though maybe they might for them, they would much rather sit in their Beit Midrash and sit and learn all day, right? And they're quiet. But that compassion that they have for the generation, caring what will be with them, caring for them to really, really experience life in the sweetest, most wonderful way. And that comes from experiencing life with the greatest level of fulfillment, a level of fulfillment that will carry over to eternal, to living that olam haba state, that bliss, that divine bliss for all of eternity. And so they have that compassion for the generation, and that compassion compels them to lead them. And that's the only motivation that they have to lead the generation. There's no ego, there's no motivation that is coming from their ego. And the other requirement for what are the characteristics of a worthy leader, the other requirement Rabbi Nachman speaks about is that their emunah is absolutely pure and clean and clear. They have 100% emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in Hashem. Their emunah is absolute. It's absolutely clear, absolutely clean, and it's only in Hashem. Exclusively in Hashem, meaning they believe that there's no other force in the universe but HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And everything that happens in the world is from Hashem. And nothing can help me, nothing can harm me, except for Hashem. Hashem is the only one in control. The only control, only power, the only force in the universe is Hashem. And so that's complete emunah in Hashem, excludes anything else. They don't believe in any other force and any other superstition or whatnot. And then when they have these two characteristics, those souls will be crowned with the crown of leadership and compelled to take that crown, compelled to lead the nation, to lead the generation. They will lead us to Shashua Olam Haba, to experiencing that state of Shabbat, that state of complete Emunah, that state of the pleasure of the world to come already now, which is basically the process that will prepare us to experience it in the greatest state, in the greatest way, when that state of the world to come comes universally, when it becomes on a universal level. And so then Rabbi Nachman also teaches us in this Torah about how there are people that want to lead the generation, and they believe that they have this compassion for the generation, but still they're unworthy of leading the generation. Why is that? Because they may be lacking in their emunah. They may have 100% emunah in Hashem. They believe and trust in Hashem completely. But if they believe in anything else, that anything else in the world has any power, and there's any other force in the world but Hashem, then their emunah is not absolute, it's not complete. And those people are unworthy of leading the nation. They're unworthy of leading the generation. They're unworthy of leadership, of malchut. But if they do try to steal the malchut from Hashem, if they do try to steal the crown of reigning and ruling over the generation, leading the generation, even though they're unworthy of it, so Hashem put something in place that will protect the crown of malchut of Hashem from these people, so that they won't be able to lead us. They will not be able to steal the malchut. What is that protection? The protection of emunah. And the emunah, we explained, is the highest state of malchut. It's the state of malchut in perfection. When the malchut is in her perfected, completed state, she is called emunah. Okay, kadit chabar ba emet, says the Zohar. When the malchut is reunited with emet, which emet, truth, is the aspect of tiferet. Okay, so when the malchut is in that state of unification, the state of perfection, she's called emunah. And so the emunah is protecting the malchut. It's protecting the leadership, the authority, the power of authority, that if anyone tries to steal it and tries to take a position of authority, but they're unworthy of it, the emunah will sever any relationship that they have with chachma. And because chachma, wisdom, divine intelligence, knowledge, not just knowledge, but wisdom, the ability to lead is rooted in that wisdom. The ability to guide others and the ability to be a real authority that others will follow is rooted. Where is that ability rooted in? It's rooted in wisdom. in Chachma. And so the Emunah will sever their connection of those people that are unworthy of Malchut. It will sever their connection with Chachma, and when their connection to Chachma is lost, then even if they have a position of authority, but it will be temporary, and they will lose it, and whatever power of authority that they think that they have is really useless. It's insignificant. And Rabbi Nachman explained that sometimes even in the other, when we're in exile in Galut by the other nations, and there's a king that seems to be ruling over us, they never really touched the Malchut of Hashem. They're only ruling over us superficially. Maybe we have to give them taxes or whatever. Maybe they even rule over us on our bodies, maybe on the physical self. But the neshama is always under the ruler, under the leadership of Hashem, under the authority of Hashem. And then Rabbi Nachman also taught us about how there are sometimes people that they want to steal the crown of authority, right? The crown of Malchut. And what they do is they pursue and they empower the opposing force, the forces that oppose Emunah. So much they perpetuate those corrupted belief systems, the belief systems of atheism, of idol worship, of heresy. They empower it so much, and they spread it to such a degree that they've disconnected the Emunah energy, which is the protection of the Malchut. They have disconnected it from the Malchut, and then they are able to steal the Malchut. But even that, Rabbi Nachman is going to teach us in what we're going to learn today, that is short-lived, and Hashem makes sure that doesn't happen either. And what is that? Rabbi Nachman taught us, we spoke about this yesterday, how there was this heavenly voice that said to the diver, what do you need? What do you want with the treasure chest of the wife of Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa? And the wife of Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, Rabbi Nachman explains, is referring to the words, the letters and the words which complete the Emunah. Because Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa is the aspect of Emunah, and the wife, Eshet, is an acronym, it's a Rashi Tevot for Avanim Shelemot Tivneh. Complete stones, with complete stones you should build it. Okay, and so the stones we said from Sefer Yetzirah is referring to the letters of the Aleph Bet, because those are the stones, the building blocks of creation, and that's what it's referring to when it says in Sefer Yetzirah that 3 stones build 6 houses, 3 letters build 6 words, because there's 6 different permutations, ways of spelling a word that has 3 letters in it. And so the 6 houses, the house is the word, and the stones that build the house are the letters. And so with these letters, the completion, the perfection of the letters is the Emunah. It's the Emunah that comes and perfects them. And this is something that we can kind of understand through the lenses of what the Baal Shem Tov taught in the Kavanah of Tefillah. One of the things that the Baal Shem Tov taught, that when a person davens, one of the most important kavanot that the Baal Shem Tov taught, and he said he taught it in so many ways, at so many different times, and all of his Talmidim, they all speak about it, and it's powerful to use this meditation, this kavanah, when you're davening, also when you're learning Torah, is that when you're saying each word that you're saying, as you're saying it, you are feeling and visualizing and connecting to every letter as you're saying it, and you're intending to fill up the letter with light, with the light of your consciousness, with the light of your awareness, with the light of your attention, with the light of your neshama. So as you're saying the word Baruch, as it's coming out of your mouth, you are filling up each letter with the light of your attention, of your consciousness. Some say to do it by visualizing the letters as you're saying them, as you are pronouncing them. Some say to focus on the feeling of the letter as it's coming out of your lips, of your mouth. And as it is coming out of your mouth, and as you're visualizing those letters, they are being filled with the light of your neshama, the light of your soul, the light of your consciousness, the light of your attention and your focus. And so the Baal Shem Tov taught to have this kavana while you're davening. And also he says, if you do it in the morning when you're learning Torah, obviously you can't do it for much because it's hard to also focus on what you're learning while you're having this, doing this meditation to understand what you're learning. But for a couple of words or a couple of lines, he says that this sweetens all the judgment. And when you're doing it when you're davening, so it causes that your prayer is manifested in the physical world. And that's how you give also a bracha, that tzaddikim, when they would give a blessing, when they would give a bracha to somebody, and it was fulfilled, it was manifested spontaneously, it would happen because of this intention, because of this kavana. And so this is, if you think about it really, that this is exactly what Rabbi Nachman is saying here, that the perfection, that which perfects the letters is the Emunah, because this consciousness that is perfecting the letters as you're saying them, it's giving life. The letters, the Baal Shem Tov taught, the letters themselves are like the body, but the body needs a soul in order to exist. And as you're saying the letters with your consciousness, infusing the letters with your consciousness, with your neshama, with your soul, you are giving life to the letters, and that's why they are manifested. You say, Refa'enu, Hashem v'nerafeh, and you're saying it with this intention. So those letters are brought to life. Letters of healing are brought to life, and they go out and they manifest the healing in the world. And so this is what we're seeing here, what Rabbi Nachman is saying here, how the letters are perfected through Emunah. That's the Emunah that is completing, perfecting the letters. Okay? And so let's see more about this now. This is what we're up to inside. And so Rabbi Nachman says, "V'otiyot nishlamim al yidei emunah, מבחינת אז הפוך אל העמים שפה ברורה, היינו על ידי אמונה שהוא בחינת דיבור כולם בשם השם. על ידי זה הפוך שפה ברורה בחינת שלמות הדיבור. We spoke about this yesterday already. This pasuk that is from Tzefania, it says that in the time of Mashiach, it says that Hashem will revert all the nations to a pure and clean language, to a holy language. Okay, a clear language. Safa berura. But what is this clear language? What is this pure and holy language that we're speaking about? And so the continuation of this pasuk explains that. It's the language of Emunah. Because it says at the end of the pasuk, Likro kulam b'shem Hashem. This pure language, this clear language, is a language that they may all call in the name of Hashem. And so when everyone calls in the name of Hashem, what does that mean that everyone calls in the name of Hashem? People call in the name of Hashem now, today as well. It means that every word that they say is being said to Hashem. Okay? So this is something that's really interesting. There's a very deep understanding, and we can give a whole shir on what I'm going to say right now, but I'm going to say it very briefly. In one of the stories of Rabbi Nachman, he explains how, this is in the story of the 7 beggars. He explains how, I believe it was in the second day, this with the second beggar. He explains how all the noises in the world, sound, every voice that is heard, is an expression on some level of lack, of deficiency. Meaning that silence, absolute silence, is a state of having, perfection. And whenever there is a sound that is made in the world, it's an expression, it's expressing that there was a lack. That there is a lack or that there was a lack. That's the 2 types of sound that there are. Either people are speaking about, crying about, asking about something that they're missing, something that they're missing in their life, or they are speaking about, laughing about, celebrating about something that was lacking and now was fulfilled. But whenever there's a sound, a word, some sound, noise in the world, kolot, voices, they are always expressing that at some point there was a lack. Either there's a lack now or there was a lack that was fulfilled. When there is absolute silence, the opposite of that, that's a state that there was never a lack and never will be a lack and never is a lack. Everything is absolutely perfect. And so this is basically the aspect of Malchut. The aspect of Malchut is speech. That's where it's needed. Speech, the aspect of Malchut is in a place where there is a lack. It's in this physical world, and we need to fulfill, we need to complete that deficiency. We need to rectify it. And that's the whole, everything that we're doing in this world is in order to fulfill, to rectify the Malchut. That's why if we realize throughout most of the Torahs and the Likutei Moharan, he's always speaking about rectifying the Malchut on some level, in some dimension, in some understanding. He's explaining in some bechina, some aspect of the Malchut, how to fix the Malchut, because that's the final purpose of everything. That's what this Torah is about as well. And so when we will come to that state of perfection, when we will come to the state of Mashiach, so all of the nations will speak this pure language. That's a language where everyone is calling out to Hashem. So instead of all of the lack that is in the world being that a person can call out to all of these other deities, all of these other energies, all these other, what it seems, these illusions of other entities, right? The idol worship, for them to help him in a certain thing that they're lacking, or a person can speak to their friends or their family and whatnot, and try all these other manipulations of reality, trying to fix things, trying to cause a different situation in their life by speaking in this way, speaking in that way, trying to convince people, trying to persuade people, trying to beg people. All of this is, some level, it's lacking Emunah. There's a lack here because the words are not being directed to Hashem. But when we recognize that the only existence is Hashem, and the only entity is Hashem, and the only force is Hashem, and the only energy is Hashem, and the only one in control is Hashem, so then all my words are to Hashem. And on another level, not only that, more than that, aside from that, we know that all those words at that state, in that time, will be words of gratitude to Hashem, because everything will have been already fixed and rectified. Right? That's why Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, the song of the day of Shabbat. What's the day of Shabbat referring to? It's the day of the world that is the day of Olam Haba, the world to come. Because the world is 7,000 years. The first 6,000 years of the world represent the 6 days of the week. And the 7,000th year, the final 1,000 years is the day of Shabbat. It represents the day of Shabbat. And like the pasuk in Tehillim says, "Ki elef shanim be'einecha ki yom etmol." For Hashem, one day is like 1,000 years for us in this physical world. Even though Hashem is beyond space and time, so there's a deeper meaning in that as well. But that's what we're referring to when we have the 6,000 years, or 6,000 years is 6 days of the week, and the 7,000 year is the Shabbat. And so that's Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat, the song of the day of Shabbat is the world to come. That's the day that is Kulo Shabbat. It's completely Shabbat. And what do we say there? What's the beginning of that song? Tov lehodot Hashem. It's good to thank Hashem, to praise Hashem. And so that's what this will be. The calling out to Hashem will be calling out in praise and gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So from here also we understand that when we praise Hashem and we thank Hashem already now in this state of the world, that is connecting to the experience of Olam Haba, and that's Likro Kulam B'Shem Hashem. That's the perfection of speech. Okay. ושלמות האותיות זה בחינת התכלית של כל הנבראים, כי כל העולמות נבראו על ידי אותיות. So, when we're saying that Emunah is what will perfect the letters and will perfect the speech through Emunah, that means that the Emunah is also what completes and perfects everything in the world, everything that exists. All the created beings of the world are perfected. Why? Why is it the same thing? Why is it the same thing to say that the letters, the perfection of the letters and the perfection of speech is through Emunah? Why is that the same as saying that the perfection of all created beings is through Emunah? And so that's what he explains here. Ki kol ha'olamot nivre'u al yedei otiyot, u'shleimut ha'otiyot hu ha'yud, shu b'chinat olam haba hanivra b'yud. Because all of the worlds, from the beginning of the highest spiritual world, all the way to this physical world and this physical dimension, were all created through the letters, the 22 letters of the Aleph Bet. Okay? And the completion, the perfection of these letters, if you look at it, when you write a letter, every letter that you write, the last point of that letter is a yud. What does that mean, it's a yud? So to understand this, you have to understand a little bit of the way the Arizal looked at the letters of the Aleph Bet. The way the Arizal teaches the letters of the Aleph Bet based on the Zohar is that every letter in the Aleph Bet is made up of two parts, either one of two parts. It's either made up of dots and lines. If you look at any letter in the Aleph Bet, it has dots and lines. Look at the Aleph, for example. There's a line in the middle, and there's a dot on top, and there's a dot on the bottom. Okay? Look at the Bet. The Bet is a line. It's 3 lines. Okay? And maybe a dot at the end of it. Okay? But every letter of the Aleph Bet is made up of either lines or dots. And that's the way the Arizal in the Kabbalah explains the letters. That's what's the makeup of the spiritual makeup of the letters. And what does the dots and the lines represent? And so the Arizal teaches us that the lines are vavs and the dots are yuds. So the DNA, so to speak, okay, the building blocks of the universe are yuds and vavs, okay? That's the building blocks of the 22 letters of the Aleph Bet. And the 22 letters of the Aleph Bet are the building blocks of the universe. Okay? But if you look at the Vav, even the line is made up of 3 dots. Every line is made up of 3 dots. And so on a deeper level, okay, if you look at it, if on a deeper level, then every one of the 22 letters is made up of dots. And it's various dots put together. And each dot represents a yud. And so when you are writing a letter, you are not finished that letter without a yud. If you were lacking a dot at the end of the completion of that letter, let's say you were making a vav, or let's say you were making a bet, and you missed a dot at the end of it, so then it would look like the bet will look like a chaf. Okay? Or the vav will maybe look like a yud if it's missing one of the dots. Or the hey might look like a resh instead of a hey if it doesn't have, dot over there in the middle. And so every one of the letters, the completion of it is a yud. If it's lacking that yud that completed it, so then it's lacking. The letter could be pasul. If it's in tefillah and if it's a sefer Torah, it will be pasul if that letter is lacking in that yud. So the perfection, the completion of all of the letters is yud. And the letters are the building blocks of the universe. All of the worlds, the spiritual and the physical world, is made up of these 22 letters, different permutations, different combinations of them. Everything, like the Baal Shem Tov Tat, Le'olam Adonai devarecha nitzav b'shamayim, the pasuk in Tehillim that says, forever Hashem, your words are standing in the sky, in the heavens. What does that mean? Baal Shem Tov explained that the words that Hashem used when he created the shamayim, when he created the heavens, when he created the sky, those words, those letters are still within the sky, upholding the existence of the sky constantly. That's what's giving it existence. And when you look at a table, within the table, there are certain letters of Hashem that are connected to, resemble the letter Shulchan. It's actually the letter Shulchan. And those letters are what give its existence. And so because everything in the world, in the physical world and the spiritual world, is made up of letters of the Aleph Bet, and each letter, the perfection of it, the completion of it is the Yud, so then that means that the Yud is the perfection of everything in the universe and is the perfection of every one of the letters. And what does the Yud represent? The Yud represents Olam Haba. The Yud represents the world to come. The Yud represents the Shabbat. The Yud represents the state of the Tachlit that this whole Torah is all about. The final stage the stage of experiencing that divine bliss for all of eternity, experiencing Hashem in that clear and that direct way that we will experience in the world to come. That's what the Yud represents, the Olam Haba. Where do we see this? So Rabbi Nachman brings us proof from the Gemara and Menachot Chavtet Amud Bet 29b. ושלמות האותיות היא היוד, שהוא בחינת עולם הבא, הנברא ביוד. The Gemara says that this world was created with the letter Hey, and the next world, the world to come, was created with the letter Yud. So the letter Yud is a representation of Olam Haba. There's a whole Maharal why this world is the Hey, but that's a shir for another time. In short, it's because the Yud, if you take the Yud and you expand it from right to left, and from top to bottom, and then you have the Yud itself, the source of it, so then that's a Hey. And so this world is kind of like the expanded manifestation of the final purpose. Okay, it's kind of like the expansion, the expanded manifestation, the physical manifestation, where that Yud is taken, and that intention that Hashem had, why that final picture, why Hashem wants us to get to through this world, is expanded by every person in their life. It's expanded in every way, by the way that they're living their life, in every word, in every action, in every moment. Okay, it's taking that intention and manifesting it is itself the expansion of that intention, of that spark. Okay, but that's something that's deep that we don't want to get into too much right now. That just in short, the way the Maharal explains it. So, in our context, to our point, the Yud represents the world to come, and the Yud is the perfection of every one of the letters, and so it's the perfection of everything in this world. כי היוד היא נקודה אחרונה משלים את תמונת כל אות, כי כשחסר נקודה אחרונה משלים תמונת האות, אז בוודאי אין שלמות לאות ואין התמונה. Because if you're lacking that final Yud, that final dot in every word as you're writing it, then the word is missing, the word is lacking. והאותיות הן במלכות ומנהיגות הנ"ל, מבחינת מלכות פה, כי עיקר ההנהגה על ידי הדיבור, כי אי אפשר להנהיג ולצוות אלה על ידי הדיבור. And the whole aspect of the letters, the idea of the letters, the energy of the letters, the words are the aspect of Malchut, as we've been explaining. Because it's impossible to lead and command others unless you're using your words. Your words are the way that you lead and guide others. That's how you communicate through the leadership. How do you want them to act, in this way or in that way? It's through the words, and that's why the words, the Zohar teaches us, the aspect of the mouth is the Malchut. Malchut Peh. Torah shebe'al peh karina la. This is the aspect of Torah shebe'al peh. It's taking the intention of the Torah shebichtav, the written Torah. It's taking the intention and expanding it in every action, in every word. This is, again, the same idea of the Yud and the Hey. The Yud is the Torah shebichtav, and the Hey is the Torah shebe'al peh. The Yud is the intention, right? The final, how is it the perfect state? And that perfect state is taken and applied in all of these different aspects of our life, and all these different circumstances that come up every day, different circumstances. It's applied, that intention. How am I acting today in a way that will be in alignment to that Yud? Okay, so that's how it's expanded. The Hey, and the right and the left and the up and the down, all the different things that happen in our day-to-day life in this physical world, it's taking that Yud, that final intention, and applying it to all these different parts of our life. But back to our point, Malchut is the words, the way that you guide and lead others and command others is through words, and that's why leadership is through speech, and that's why Malchut is the aspect of the mouth, the speaking. The letters are the aspect of the leadership, and the perfection, the way you perfect it, the way you perfect the Malchut, what perfects it and brings it to its state of completion is the Emunah. נמצא על ידי שלמות אותיות האמונה, שבמלכות על ידי זה הצדיקים יודעים את התכלית של העולם הבא. And so now Rabbi Nachman is going to explain how through the perfection of these letters of Malchut, the perfection of the completion of Emunah, which perfects the Malchut, through this the tzaddikim are able to connect to the state of the world to come already now. we're going to explain that Bezrat Hashem in the next class.